Welcome back. Welcome to another edition of the Tres Leches Sports Podcast. I'm Gilly Matos, brought to you here in conjunction with El Mundo, by El Mundo Boston. And as always, joined by my friends, mis colegas, Uri Berenguer, the Spanish voice of the Boston Red Sox. How you doing, Yuri?
All right, Gil, what's going on, man? I've been, I'm happy because I hopped on that new Call of Duty. I've been kicking some ass, been doing all right, so I'm good. What's up?
So you have your golf outfit on, very Masters appropriate.
Oh yeah, baby. You know, I was giving Johnson some tips here and there. You know, he did all right. I'm proud of the kid.
Also joined by a good friend, Omar Cabrera, reporter for the New England Patriots and New England Revolution. How you doing, O?
What's up, guys? Always happy, a pleasure to be here every week, man, talking about what we love best, sports.
That's right. And as always, today's Leches Sports Podcast, we bring you three topics in the world of sports, and we're going to start off right away with Robinson Canó. Robinson Canó, whose pursuit of 3,000 career hits was stalled when MLB announced that it has suspended him for the entire 2021 season following a second positive PED test. Yuri, Canó is going to forfeit $24 million in salary this season. My question to you, is MLB's PED penalty too harsh?
Is it too harsh? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah.
Is that really what we're here to talk about? You're asking me if it's too harsh. Is that really a question?
$24 million,
That's really a
162
question.
games.
Is it too harsh?
That's a big suspension.
Oh my God. Is it too harsh? No, it's not too harsh. Are you kidding me? My question is, the better question is, how dumb can you be? That's the question. It's not a matter of being too harsh. It's a matter of how dumb can you be. Absolutely, it's the right penalty. If anything, I think they're kind of lenient on him. I mean, his first suspension was only was 2 years ago? Only 2 years ago. So it's like, really, you think you got caught once? Because you got caught once, you're not going to get the second time. How's the saying go? You know what? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So I mean, is he ashamed of himself yet, or what? I mean, dude, we're talking about $36 million now that he's had to forfeit. He's had to forfeit over the years. But the first one cost him $12 million in 2018. Now $24 million. He's also, in my opinion, he's also forfeiting his Hall of Fame consideration. I think it's just a matter of what he's also doing, what he continues to do, him, and unfortunately, a lot of our Latino ball players. What those type of ball players, our Latino ball players, some continue to do to the image of the Latino ball player. Let's call a spade, guys. Let's just say how it is. Especially the Dominican Republic, because they're the majority of the Latino ball players. The world is looking at them, pointing at them, and saying, "Oh yeah, he takes steroids. Oh yeah, he does this. Oh yeah, they're cheaters." Let's be honest. Call a spade. I'm sorry, Gil. You're part Dominican. You know that. You know how it is. I mean, I don't mean no offense, but that's the reality. And it's not just Dominican. It's all of Latin America. You see a Latin American ball player doing well, and that's one of the first things that crosses your mind, whether they say it out loud or not. It's just a fact. This is a guy who still has 2 years left in his 10-year, $240 million contract with the Mets. If I'm the Mets, if anything, I'm ecstatic. I'm like, hey, dude, he's 38 years old. Do I really want to pay him $24 million? So I'm ecstatic. Honestly, I can't even say that I was surprised when I heard it, because I've been around it too much. This is not the first time. It's just happened too much. And if anything, I'm just pissed off. I'm really just annoyed, to be honest with you. Is it too harsh? Honestly, dude, don't even ask me that question. Don't ask that question again. You're my boy. I expect more out of you.
So, just to be clear. Omar, what are your thoughts on Robinson Canó and his latest excursion into PEDs? Do you think the penalty was too harsh by MLB?
Man, I hate to say it, but I agree with everything Yuri said. Every single point he mentioned, I have to agree with. You know what? It just goes back to when I knew we were going to talk about this today. I have to dig back at some of the comments he made in 2018 after he was suspended for testing positive for a banned substance. And I remember hearing about this, 2 years ago. So I have to dig out exactly what he said. And this is what he said. While I did not realize at that time that I was given a medication that was banned, I obviously now wish that I had been more careful. So it goes back to how stupid can you be? How dumb can you be? You make that mistake, fine. You know what? Maybe we gave him the pass. We gave him the benefit of the doubt 2 years ago that it could have been a mistake. All right. Don't you think you're going to learn from that big mistake that cost you almost $12 million at that time? And you learn and you move on and you don't make that big mistake. Now you make an even bigger mistake. Now you're losing $24 million. there's, you know what, there's no excuse for a lot of these guys. Like you already said, sadly, unfortunately, a lot of Latin American players are doing this mistake over and over again. I don't know what else MLB can do. You know, this penalty is definitely harsh, but probably we need harsher penalties because obviously they're not learning. You know what? And another thing that Yuri said that I have to agree with, probably the biggest winners here are, you know, so ironic to say it, but it's the New York Mets. Not only will they be saving a lot of money, but now they get to people, the fans and the Mets get to see Jeff McNeil play more. And I know a lot of people wanted that last year. They wanted Jeff McNeil to play more second base, but because of Robinson Canó, he didn't get to play as much. So now, you know what? The Mets fans and the organization, they're going to get to see this young player get some more playing time, and they're probably the biggest winners right here.
They're already calling for DJ LeMahieu. They're already calling that name out. So
yeah, and that's going to be an interesting thing because Steve Cohen, the new owner, already said he wants to compete with the Yankees, and you know, in terms of the tabloids and everything else, and he wants to get in there. So DJ LeMahieu, obviously a big target and an important part of that Yankee machine. The thing with Robinson Canó that gets me is it's not that it's his second time, because, you know, it happens and people get it. And look, in my opinion, is it a harsh penalty in the whole scheme of things? I mean, shit, it's $24 million in 162 games. That's a harsh penalty. Is it deserved? Yeah, it's deserved, I think. But it is a harsh penalty. I'm not going to deny it's a harsh penalty. Now, the thing that gets me is that it was Stanizzolo, which is incredibly detectable. Incredibly detectable. So not only is it the first time, but you're doing something that's clearly going to come up on test. What are you doing? What are you doing? I mean, and the only thing I can think of is that a lot of these guys, I mean, he's made $214 million in his career already. I mean, you know, if you put a gun in my head and say, Gil, will you do PEDs to get a $100 million contract? Yeah, of course. Where would I sign up for it? Of course I will. But the big thing I want to hear is the excuse as well, because Omar just read the statement from last time, which clearly was written by an agent or something. But which one is more likely, guys? My trainer, I was taking a fertility drug. What else? What other excuse do we have? My doctor. What else? What else can we get up there?
It was actually my wife's. It was delivered to my wife.
That's true.
We're trying to get pregnant.
Yeah. Do you think he goes full Shaggy? It wasn't me.
Dude, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Dude, you know what, Gil? I think you actually, in your statement on your comments just now, you answered your own question. You said, "Is it too harsh?" You said it's that it is a harsh penalty, but is it too harsh? But you asked if it was too harsh. No, it is a harsh, but it's not too harsh. The thing that you said was, you know, we've had that conversation before. You and I've actually had this conversation of if somebody was to say, hey, give you a $100 million contract, 10-year, $100 million contract, you know, all you got to do is take PEDs. You and I, again, we've had this conversation. Of course, hell yeah.
Sign me up.
You know what? But that's it. That's how we got here in the first place, because the penalties were too light. There were no penalties in the first place, and then the penalties were too light. That's how we got here. That's exactly how Major League Baseball got here, turning the blind eye. So there is no such thing, in my opinion, as too harsh of a penalty. They have to be extreme. They have to be absolutely extreme. If not, we're not going to resolve it. We're going to be living with this, you know, forever.
It's definitely the stiffest penalty in all of professional sports.
Yes, absolutely. Well, they went from being
has the harshest penalties.
They went from being the worst, the lightest, to being the absolute harshest, the heaviest. But that's what needed to happen. That's what needed to happen. They also had the biggest culprits.
True that.
Well, guys, trying to move on, and as you guys know, a few weeks ago, I must admit, guys, I said that the Patriots dynasty was probably over, and it was time to start rebuilding. But after a couple of wins, back-to-back wins, I know, sorry, Yuri, I know you're not in your head, but after a couple of back-to-back wins over the Jets and the Baltimore Ravens, the fans are hopeful again. You know, they have some hope this season. And again, I admit I was wrong, guys, because a Bill Belichick team is never going to go out without a fight. But guys, come on, with a record of 4-5, only 7 games left in the season, do you still think they can make the playoff? Gil, what do you think? Do you think they still have time to make the playoff, or there's not enough time to make a postseason run this year?
First of all, I love the fact that we sort of managed this so that you were the one presenting this, so that we
Yes.
But I am gonna say this: the Patriots saved their season with their upset victory against the Baltimore Ravens in improving to 4-5. They saved their season. I think they did. Are they a playoff team? They could very easily be 6-3. They can very easily be 7-2 right now, right? But are they a playoff team? No, they're not. And it's simple numbers, right? 7 teams will make the playoffs this year. There are 9 teams currently with a better record than them. And there are all those teams, the ones they're closest to, are 2 games above them right now. It's very hard to make up 2 games on that many teams. So for that reason, I don't think they are. But I think they're a very interesting team to watch because what they're doing right now is playing that old school football. And this is something I like about football because it lends itself to teams with different styles, right? In baseball, it's a little harder to see teams with different styles because everybody's trying to either strike out or hit a home run. In basketball, everybody's shooting 3-pointers. Football still lends itself to those different styles of teams with good defenses, teams that can run, teams that just pass, so you have all these different clashing styles. The Pats play a very old school, run it down your throat. They have a strong offensive line, run behind your strength, and they try to play good defense as well. So it's a very interesting team to watch. It's a team that if they get ahead, they're tough to come back on. But if they fall behind, that offense is not that great, guys. And aside from that, it's just the simple numbers. There's way too many teams ahead of them at this point. So I don't think they're a playoff team.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the points you said. The weather also, teams they adjust to the weather, which is what they did this past weekend at Gillette Stadium. But they're finally playing good football on both ends of the field, offense and defense. And I think they finally, like you said, they found their identity, which is the running game. But with 7 games left, again, they still have a lot of tough games ahead of them, especially the West Coast trip coming up, the LA trip where they're going to play both LA's teams back-to-back the same week. And then before that, they play Arizona. So it's going to be difficult, but what do you think? What's your take?
Well, the main thing is that, I started to realize, and I've thought this before, but now I'm starting to really believe it. I think I may be some way related to Walter Mercado. Because I predicted. Just last week I said, you know what? Oh, I'll wait next week to see how you flip-flop your answer again. How you change your answer again, your opinion again. That's 3 weeks in a row. You said one thing about the Patriots, and you went back on it. Hey, look at that. We're back to square one again with you. So
again, I'm a man who apologizes.
Yeah. Call me Mini Walter. It's all right. Walter, aquí estoy, papa. Listen, man. One thing I've learned about the Patriots. The question is, are they a playoff team? That's a hard question to answer. I mostly agree with what Gil just explained, for the exact same reasons, actually, because there's too many teams ahead of them, and having to leapfrog so many teams in any sport is just, it's almost impossible. But I have learned this, guys. We all know you don't tug on Superman's cape, you don't spit into the wind, and you don't doubt Bill Belichick. Those things I've learned. I've learned that you can't doubt Bill Belichick. You know what? Where there's the will, I think Bill has taught us that there's a way. All you got to do is break down their schedule. Just take a look at their schedule right now. What they've already done in the season. They're a 4-5 team. They started the season off beating, their biggest, the number 1 team in the division, Miami, 21-1, 21-11, who they still have to play, by the way. They lost a nail biter against Seattle at Seattle. They beat the Raiders, who are potentially a playoff team. They lost without Cam Newton, by the way. They lost to Kansas City 26-10, so they weren't blown out of the water by that offense. The Broncos lost. You really can't have any excuse for it. That was at home. That was a stinker. Same thing.
They had no practice in that game. They had no time to practice.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. That's correct. That's the one. That's the one they had no practice. Correct. The 49ers won. You know what? That was absolute horrendous.
That was atrocious.
But then, the Bills game, the loss to the Buffalo Bills again. One of the top 2 teams in the division. The Bills are no joke. They had, they started the season off with an MVP candidate as quarterback. They started the season off known as, this defensive force, even though they haven't been that this year. They went neck to neck with the Bills. They were a couple of inches away from actually winning that game. Yeah. They beat the Jets, and they just destroyed. Arguably destroyed in the sense of held them down and went neck to them the entire way. Came from behind, by the way. And beat the Ravens. Guys, that's a big deal. Now look at what they have left. They got to play the Bills and Miami. Both teams that, they show that they can compete with and or beat. The Bills and Miami also have to play each other, which is, is going to have a big influence in the division race. And does any of you doubt that the Patriots can beat the Texans? the Patriots can beat the Chargers.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. There's a lot of things that need to happen here, but
Yeah.
I mean,
and they can happen. Not a lot of things need to
they
happen.
have to
a lot
go.
of things that can happen. A lot of things that can happen.
But Yuri, they have to go what, 7-0 or 6-1 down the stretch right now?
You have to depend.
No.
You have to depend a lot on other teams.
9 and 7 is not going to make the playoffs.
Listen, but you're arguing with me as if I said that they are a playoffs team. I said I don't know. I don't know that. I just know that I can't doubt that they can be. I will tell you this. I don't know that they are, but I know that they are a playoff contender. I know that they're contending. They're in the contention for a playoff spot, which is something that nobody was willing to say before last week. No one was.
Yeah, they're gonna have to literally run the table again.
Well, yeah, absolutely. No, they don't have to run the table because, like I said, Miami and the Bills still have to play each other, and Miami and the Bills still have contenders that they have to face off.
No, so but you see what Gil is saying. I think they could probably win 5 of the next 7 games. I can see that, but still, that will make it 9 and 7. I don't know if that's enough to make it to the playoff. And depending on a lot of teams, that's hard. I think that's the hardest part.
I mean, you got Pittsburgh, KC, Buffalo, Indy, Vegas, Miami, Baltimore, Cleveland, and Tennessee all ahead of you right now, and they're all 2 games ahead of you. So they have to run the table. They have to go 6-1 or 7-0 down the stretch. 5-2 is not gonna cut it because they're gonna end up 9 and 7.
Yeah, no, guys.
I don't think 9 and 7 gets you in.
You're kind of reiterating the same thing I said. Unfortunately, I may sound a little bit more optimistic. I'm not saying that they will be, but they're in contention for it. That's the reality. They are in contention for it, guys. And I'm not at all impressed by the Bills. I've told you that for the last couple of weeks. The Dolphins, I think the Dolphins may be the real deal. But you know what? When you see the way that Bill plays against we've seen the way Bill plays against young quarterbacks. I think Tua has a lot to show. If Tua can handle the Bill Belichick's defense, then
Yeah, but remember, we're playing in Miami. They always have a hard time playing in Miami.
No,
the good thing, you know what?
I agree.
One thing I take away from the win.
There's life.
The win from Baltimore, it gave them life again. It put them back into into competition again, which is great because at least the games going forward, they're gonna mean a lot. This game without Houston. If we had lost the last game against Baltimore, this game against Houston probably wouldn't mean much anymore. But now that we won, now they can get back to 500, and that's it keeps your hopes up. That's all you can. That's all you can ask for.
Well, and next week you'll give us a different opinion.
No, that's what I'm telling you right now. I apologize, by the way. I'm a man.
I could have let it go. Yeah, a man that's always wrong. No, it's his opinion. But all right, guys. Hey, guys. All right, guys. I mean, let's stop joking around. It's time to get down to business. You all know it. You all know it, guys. The moment the world has been waiting for is just about here. Saturday the 28th, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. will face off for the coveted WBC Frontline Championship belt. So I got to thinking. The reality is, how would these two greats do in today's boxing if they were in their prime? How would these two greats do if they were in their prime in today's boxing? I'm going to start off with, one of these two guys is going to be a champion after next weekend. One of them two is going to be a champion. So I got to know, what do you think? How do they do it if they were in their prime today's boxing?
The Frontier Championship?
The great coveted WBC championship.
Whatever that is called.
Front line, what is it, flea and tick medicine?
Frontier, let's keep it like that.
The Frontier. It's better than the Frontier one, though.
Frontier title. But actually, that's a good question, though. I actually think both of those fighters will do really well in today's sport. I think, that's only a few fighters that I think will do well in this times. And besides them too, Muhammad Ali is definitely another one, without a doubt. But I think Mike Tyson, with the power he had, he would probably even be more popular nowadays. And he would probably, he would still be as great as he was, but he would probably be even more popular with all the social media going on. People would know even a lot more about him than they did.
No way. That would be crazy. That would kill him. Are you kidding me? That would destroy.
I mean, he would be popular. He'd be on TMZ all the time.
He wouldn't be.
He would be really popular.
He would be notorious. Is what he would be.
Well, that's true.
Is what he would be.
That's true too. And you know what? And then on the other hand, Roy Jones, I think, he's definitely been one of the best pound for pounds of our era. And I think they will both do really well. Anyone you make them face, I think they will do well. They will win a lot of titles, just like they did in the prime time. They will do the same thing, right now. Unfortunately, they didn't get a chance to fight when they were both in the prime time. That would have been a great fight to watch, actually, both in the prime times. But hey, We can still see him wearing. Are they still gonna wear the headgear or no? I forgot about that part.
I don't know. I mean, I've heard different things. I've heard back and forth that yes, they're gonna have, and some saying that no. I'm like, dude, I don't know. All I know is that Mike Tyson looks like he ate the younger Mike Tyson. This dude is huge right now. I mean, he looks like he could knock anybody's head off. And
Oh no,
I agree with you.
Man, I'm telling you, if he catches Roy Jones with a good punch, Roy Jones is going down.
Dude,
that's why I think Mike Tyson is going to win that fight.
I think he's probably been training with Robinson Canó. But I agree with you. I agree with you. You know, that fight when those two guys were in the prime would have been something. You know, would have been thing of dreams. The same thing we could have said if they would have fought in their prime, Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. But I got to go to you, Gil. What do you think? If these two guys were in their prime, how would they deal with today's boxers?
I think Mike would have been too big for him when they were both in their primes. He's a lot heavier, but I think that boxing is one of those sports, I think, like baseball, where like if you were baseball great in the 1920s, you'd probably be really good right now as well in the 2020s, you know, because a lot of the skills translate. And I think boxing is very similar in that sense. So I think the greats from before would be great now as well. He would have, and this is going to surprise you, I think Roy Jones would be a little better than Mike Tyson, though, because I think Jones, for that weight class, the speed that he had, the footwork and everything else, along with the power, right now would just simply have problems because the fighters are so big right now. I mean, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, they're all a full foot taller than Mike Tyson is, you know? So, and that, you know, yeah, Mike Tyson has the ultimate equalizer, the right hand, and, you know, the power. However, those guys have power too, and they can just keep you at bay with the reach, right? So, and we saw that, you know, historically when he faced bigger fighters like Lennox Lewis, even those later on in his career, he had problems with those type of fighters. So I think, you know, I think Mike would still be knocking people out, knocking people around. I think he would definitely be in the mix of those people, but I don't think he would be as dominant as he was in the 80s, where he was just knocking people out of the ring, knocking people's heads off in one round. I think the guys that are around now are just, and it's just simply because of sheer size. They're just so much bigger, so much taller, and heavier, that it's a different type of boxing in that sense, and a different type of division. So, and as far as who I think is going to win, I forget who it was, but Tony Kornheiser always quotes this on PTI, and he says, the answer to your other questions is money, follow the money. Mike Tyson is definitely the cash cow of the two. He's a guy that's more marketable. He's a guy that people are willing to dolly up $50 to watch fight for the Frontline, Frontier, whatever it's called, belt. So I think Mike Tyson definitely wins the fight. And if it's not based on, like, you know, pure skill or whatever, they're going to find a way for him to win the fight so that they can keep the cash cow going. That's just my opinion. But I'll watch. I'm curious. I'll watch.
That was actually my next question. And you know, the predictions, I like you gave it to me already, but I will say this. You both of you made points that I really, truly agree with. In the sense that, well, let me start off by saying this. I'm not a fan of comparing different eras, you know, players from different eras, because it's always such a hard conversation. I think we've talked about this before as well. It's just hard. It really is hard to compare it, because the sports change so much. The sports evolve so much. Human beings have also evolved so much. Sports science has evolved so much. And so it's really a hard conversation to have, regardless of the sport. However, I do tend to agree with, this is the point that Omar made. I tend to agree that the greats are great. The greats are great for a reason, you know, and whether they have to change and have to adjust whatever they had to do in order to compete in modern day sports, they would do it because they're great. Because they're great, they would be able to adjust to it. And so I agree with that. I think that's more or less what Omar was saying. And I also agree with something that Gil was pointing out, in the sense that if there's any sport that has changed perhaps the least, the mechanics haven't changed as much, it's boxing. You know, I mean, we could sit here and compare the NBA of old, even MLB of old, and NFL, but boxing really has changed the least of, in my opinion, of all those major sports. So I think for those two reasons, perhaps these two gentlemen, if anybody could compete in today's world of boxing, would be them. And I don't doubt that they would be, you know, if not the best in their weight classes, they'd be, you know, the top tier. You know, I wouldn't doubt that.
I mean, the thing with boxing is like the you know, welterweight's 147, middleweight's 154, you know, so all these weight classes and everything, they're consistently the same. So that doesn't change. So, and an interesting argument with comparing eras, because I hate doing it too, but I think whenever you have the conversation of comparing eras, people just think that you're plopping like 1940s Ted Williams into today's thing. And you're like, here you go, Ted, go smoke a cigarette in between innings or whatever. Correct. No, I'm talking about having the same access to sports science now as well. That person being and having the same thing now, so
that's the big thing that has to be pointed out.
Right.
That's what has to be pointed out, and that's true. That's true.
Right. Larry Bird's hurting his back, fixing his driveway, paving his driveway. You think LeBron's paving his driveway?
Yeah. Listen, I had to get to the prediction part to get Omar in as well. Omar, if you don't mind, let me give you mine real quick. I think that while I know what Gil is saying, I do still apply that law, that great boxing law and fighting law. In boxing, the better boxer wins. The better boxer wins, and Roy Jones has always been a better boxer than Mike Tyson. Always was. He's younger. He's not as far removed from boxing as Mike Tyson. His last fight was 3 years ago. Mike Tyson hasn't fought for 15 years. So if this was a legitimate fight, like Omar said, they're wearing the protective gear or now, what is it? Is it an exhibition or is it a real fight? That's what's gonna decide. If it was a real fight, I still put my money on Roy Jones. I'd put my money on Roy Jones. But if it's an exhibition, if it is looking for a cash cow, then I got to go with Gil. At the end of the day, I guess I'm hoping that it's a real fight, and I'm going to go with Roy Jones. What do you think, O?
No, I think, again, I think same thing. I agree with that. Like, if it goes to distance, what is it, 8 rounds, right? I think it's 8 rounds, right? If it goes to distance, I think we might be able to see Roy Jones, that total package that Roy Jones used to show because, he was a complete fighter. But I'm just saying that it's Tyson catches him with a few punches. I think he can knock him out because I think from what we've seen, he still has the power. So that's why I think Tyson might end up winning this fight. But that's me thinking that he might catch him.
I can't wait to see Butterbean jump in with a steel chair or something like that. That's what I'm waiting for. Are you still coming over to watch it, right?
Heck yeah. Thanksgiving weekend, baby.
I agree with you 100%. If it was a real fight, you go with the better boxer over the fighter. But yeah, we all know this isn't a real fight. And guys, we've reached the final segment here of the episode of the show where we give the chancletazo or abrazo, where we give somebody either a spanking or a hug for what was going on this week. So let's start off with you, Yuri. What do you got this week? You giving hugs? Or you giving chancletazos?
Right. I'm finally fresh, dude. You had gone away from me for such a long time. I was starting to feel unloved or something. But
because you were stealing everybody's answers, so we need to
Very true.
I'm gonna go. I'm giving out some love today, baby. I'm giving out some love. The week before Thanksgiving week, I got to give some love. So I'm giving a big abrazo to my boy. Honestly, in my personal life, I say this all the time. I can't deny all the stupid things he did, all the ridiculousness that he did. I can't deny that he did some messed up stuff during his career. But to me personally, especially early on in my career, I still remember him as one of the nicest guys I ever met, one of the nicest guys I ever dealt with, one of the coolest guys, I'd say one of my biggest buddies in Major League Baseball.
Jeffrey
Big abrazo to my boy, a 48-year-old Manny Ramirez. It's super Manny. My man Manny, he's due to debut for the Sydney Blue Sox of the Australian Baseball League this Saturday coming up. This Saturday, the league kicks off on Sunday. The league kicks off on Sunday when he's supposed to debut. The 12-time All-Star and 2-time World Series champion Ramirez last played professionally in 2017 when he played for the Shikoku Island League Plus. He last played in the majors with the Tampa Bay Rays in April of 2011. So all I got to say is big abrazo to my man Manny. Go get him, bro. Go get him, Manny. Still do it for the love of the game, homie.
We were eagerly anticipating what you were going to say there when you started talking about stuff that they've done in their career, blah, 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 blah. I'm just glad it wasn't Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh, my God.
Omar, what do you got?
Oh, wow. Man. Yeah, man. I'm in the love-giving mood, too. Like Yuri, again, a big abrazo this week to the New England Revolution goalkeeper, Matt Turner, who had been named one of the finalists for the MLS Goalkeeper of the Year. The Revolution keeper is one of the 3 MLS finals to get this award. This year, Matt Turner started in 22 out of 23 games and set our club record for most shutouts, 6 of them for the New England Revolution this season. And also, on a personal basis, I know Matt for a while on and off the pitch. Quick story about him. Last year, my job needed to do a quick PSA about getting the flu shot. We called Matt right away. He said, yes, I'll do it. That's the type of guy he is. And for that, Matt, congratulations and a big abrazo from me this week.
Nice. We're giving out a lot of love this week. I'm also going to give an abrazo, guys. I'm going to give an abrazo to the greatest clutch hitter of all time, Mr. David Ortiz, Big Papi, who turned 45. Happy birthday to David Ortiz, a guy who pretty much almost single-handedly turned the fortunes of the franchise around, won 3 World Series as well with the Sox, and a guy who unbelievably, was cut by the Twins before he signed with the Red Sox. So happy
this
birthday.
This is a looking city.
And that. And then I also want to give an abrazo to something which is really freaky, which is I guess not freaky, but Thunder general manager, Oklahoma City Thunder general manager Sam Presti traded for Al Horford and received the first and a second rounder from Philly in order to take on that massive salary. Now, what's crazy is that Presti has now amassed a total of 17 first-round picks through 2027 in just 2 years of wheeling and dealing there. He's literally going to be drafting by himself.
Dude, that 2034 team is going to be insane.
You must have learned from Danny Ainge.
17 picks in the next basically 8 seasons. So yeah, big abrazo to Sam Presti over there, man. That guy's been working it hard. I guess you got to do it, right? When you got a small market team like that, you got to be creative.
I can't wait for the 2032 season. It's gonna be amazing.
Hey, maybe he'll find another KD.
That's true. Or Harden or Westbrook, right? That team is great. Well, guys, we reached the end of this episode of Tres Leches Sports Podcast. As always, brought to you in conjunction with El Mundo Boston. For Yuri Berenguer, for Omar Cabrera, I'm Gilly Matos. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media. Interact with us. Agree with us. Disagree with us. Fight with us.
Tell Omar to stop changing his damn opinions all the time.
Tell Yuri to stop talking so much.
Until next time, we'll see you guys.
Hey, guys, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.